I'd like to start. Hello. I'd like to start out a little bit by explaining or pointing out a couple areas that I think are unique to collegiate athletics in the United States. And I'd like to talk about the popularity, the size, and really the cultural significance that athletics holds in the States. For instance, viewership for probably two of the most popular sports in collegiate athletics, American football and basketball combined, if you would combine those two, outpaces professional basketball, the NBA, and outpaces NHL hockey. And viewership for those two sports combined is actually even more than the Olympics and more than the World Cup. To illustrate my point, this stadium at the University of Michigan, this is their football stadium, it's nicknamed the Big House for good reason, because every Saturday, home games on that campus in this stadium, they average 110,000 fans for their football games. Now keep in mind, there's only 40,000 students that go to the University of Michigan. And to put that into further context, and I'm not making any comparisons or anything, but Barcelona averages right around 80,000. So a college sport averages more than the best soccer team in the world. Also significant to note is the economy surrounding collegiate athletics is staggering. So through broadcasting rights, merchandising, ticket sales, licensing, branding, collegiate athletics is a $9 billion industry. And also unique to, I think, the United States and the athletic system is that with so much on the line, universities provide athletic scholarships to recruit elite talent to their schools. So for football teams, American football teams, for basketball, for soccer, for track, for swimming, administrations and coaches go and offer incentives, athletic scholarships for those athletes to come study at their school and also perform on their teams. So that way, those athletic teams can be successful. So on top of the viewership, attendance, and the massive scale of the economy, what I think is most interesting to me, and probably most important, is the cultural identity that is related to collegiate athletics. It's really, to be honest, a regional tribal identity. Around games, particularly in football games, they're day-long festivals of events. In the parking lot of the stadium, people are tailgating, so pre-game parties, they go to the game, and then they come for post-game parties, and they go all hours of the night. Local communities rally around the home games, and really every bar and every, within miles are packed full, watching the game, everybody cheering. And really, those athletic identities really lead the university identity. So, that logo and that team nickname and that mascot are really the front and center identities of universities in the United States. And there's a real generational quality to it as well. So if my dad went to Ohio State, there's likely that his dad went to Ohio State, and then I'm expected to go to Ohio State because that's just what the family has done, and that athletic culture is so tied into our family. So there's a real year after year, generation and generation sort of tie and bond to that regional school and to that athletic brand. And these rivalries, to be honest, have gone on for hundreds of years. The first football game between Yale University and Princeton University, two Ivy League schools, were over 100 years ago. It was in 1873. Well, there was another first. In 2014, I introduced collegiate athletics into a new collegiate athletic arena. It was the Esports Arena.
And here they come, stomping straight into the base of Kentucky, along with the mini wave equalizer land on Sirlaus. The Coling finishes them off. Nami Wave just barely lifts up Unicorn in the back line, and this most certainly should do it. Robert Morris University. 06 is pushed into the Nexus, but does not quite get taken out. And this should secure it. Pantheon coming in with his ult from behind, and they're waiting for him. Does he find the kill and signature? No, he does not. And that ends the game with a Rumble double kill, finishing it off RMU 2-0 over Kentucky.
What you just saw was the final minute of Robert Morris University versus the University of Kentucky in our first ever varsity athletics scholarship esports competition in 2014. My name is Kurt Melcher. I've been an athletic administrator and soccer coach for over 15 years at Robert Morris University in Chicago, Illinois, in the United States. Through my initiatives, our university created the world's first varsity esports scholarship program, which was fully integrated into an athletic department and offered as a true sport. Our first year, we recruited and awarded 35 elite varsity esports student athletes over $500,000 of athletic scholarship money to come and attend our university and be a part of our program. We recruited 35 of really the 0.02% elite of North American servers like Challenger, Master players, Diamond players into our program to compete in the game League of Legends. Today, in 2017, we have over 80 scholarship athletes, and we participate in 7 different gaming and esports titles. Today, we award over $1.5 million of athletic scholarship dollars and recruit some of the best players across the United States and even from other countries. We recruit internationally as well. But when I started the program in 2014, and to a degree still, it wasn't without some real controversy. See, it challenged, in a lot of ways, the perception of collegiate athletics. For some, the program I started defied what their sense of athletic tradition is. It confronts what many perceive as sacred, which is the institution of university athletics. And to give you a better idea of what I mean, I received, to be honest with you, hundreds of emails, and I'll share a couple with you. Some positive, but a lot were kind of like this, where you could see, what's your definition of an athlete, sir? You should be fired for what you're doing. You're making a mockery of athletes all over the country. Video game nerds do not deserve the recognition of athletes who have invested so much into sport. You're basically slapping us in the face, is another email, and saying you're sitting on your ass is okay, and this is why. Thanks. I like it. At least it ended in a kind of a positive, sort of a polite note. Appreciate that. So, what's going on here? Why is there such a deep, sort of visceral, negative reaction to starting a varsity esports program, a scholarship program? And I've put a lot of thought into that question. Why does it get people, because it took me by surprise, why does it get people so angry? And the best conclusion I can come up with is that I feel like video games and the video game industry, esports, still suffers in some ways from a negative sort of stereotype and perception. That video games are only for lazy people and unmotivated losers, nerds, that it's a waste of time. It provides no redeeming sort of individual benefit to the individual. And I think part might be, that the first thing people, depending upon, I feel like how old you are, think of when they hear the word video games are probably some of these kind of legacy titles, right? And I've played all these games, probably all of us have. I haven't really played Pong, but I know I get the idea of it. And typically to be very good at those titles and those games, it takes repetition. So you play them over and over, and you learn certain platform routines, different timings of AI or different opponents, and you get to be very good just by playing them over and over and over again. And I feel like video games today, and especially esport video games, are much more complex, much more intricate and sophisticated. They require a great deal of skill and technique, strategy, complex tactical execution. They're generally played in a team dynamic. They require teamwork, effective communication, and simply playing them over and over and over and over will not make you elite. I can say that because I'm living proof of that. So we know that present day, if we accept that present day esports and video games have undeniable depth and complexity, but to what end? Does that justify the time commitment? What do you do with that passion, right? You play all those games. We know only maybe like the top 1% will ever make any of the kind of the new professional leagues. So it's still perceived as a waste of time, which is interesting to me. Probably, I think the room full of game developers wouldn't agree with that, but I think the perception outside of this room is that's kind of how people see video games and see the industry, which is interesting because you think about the pursuit of other sort of art or talent-based specific kind of career choices, if it's acting or music or film or art. I think society sort of like understands that and understands that there's a career path or there's some kind of industry that will take care of you if those are your passions. You can kind of chase those passions and go after it, where I think gaming still is behind that a little bit. But I think that we're making strides. And when I say in the gaming industry, I'm talking about developers, publishers, competitions, leagues, obviously players, teams, organizations, and viewership. I think many people have referred to, even recently, as like sort of the esports industry as the Wild West. It's unregulated. Nobody knows what's happening. Teams come and go. But I think the industry as a whole is experiencing a tremendous amount of growth and a respectable amount of stabilization. For growth, it's undeniable. If we look at 2017, worldwide esports audience is 239 million people, projected to be 303 in 2019. Year on year, that's a 22% clip of growth. It's amazing. And in my opinion, it's only going to grow faster because it's organic growth. It's, my friend is watching esports, what are you watching? Let me participate, or let me figure out what's going on there, and then they get hooked in. It's not a matter of marketing, it's organic. Another interesting slide is if we look at, this is traditional sports in the US, generally straight or a minor decline, esports, and now to be fair, that's clumping in all sort of competitive games. I'm assuming that's probably Counter-Strike, League of Legends, Dota, but still, it's on an upward trajectory. And another interesting slide predicting kind of growth models against kind of high household income. If Mike Sepko out there, he probably likes this slide. But obviously high growth in a high sort of annual income family base is projecting good things for the industry. So outside of growth, I think the industry-wise in sort of professional esports is also seeing a period of stabilization. Riot recently announced a franchise model for North America. I believe that will provide an influx of investment into sort of the North American collegiate league, or North American professional League of Legends scene. Overwatch League, which is coming, as announced, a franchise system across the world, which will also be a good stabilization fact for professional esports. So with the growth and the stabilization of the industry, I think we're on a good track. And I also think collegiate can really play an important part of that stabilization, that messaging, and the perception. Now, to understand kind of why I started the program to begin with, I just want to share with you a little bit of my background, and I think it makes a little more sense. So I played on one of those big universities. I was a varsity soccer player on a scholarship at a big university. And here's embarrassing pictures my wife said put in because then the crowd will like you more. So I hope so. But I also, at the same time, played video games. I've been passionate about video games my whole life, from the early consoles to early gaming PCs and all the way through. I still play games now with my kids, and I still play MOBAs now as much as I can. It's just something I've always been really, really passionate about. So outside of being really passionate, being also pretty good over my time playing video games, I feel like I respect video games, and that's probably the most important thing, is that I respect the skill and ability that it requires to be very good at these games, and dedication. So outside of when I graduated university, I went to work in the athletic department as a university soccer coach and as an athletic administrator, and I worked for over 15 years at a smaller university in downtown Chicago, Robert Morris University. But I always still played video games. So after I came across League of Legends and started playing it a great deal, it was through my playing that I realized the people I was playing against were so unbelievably good. The skill cap was so high. I was having such a hard time. The talent and the technical ability, the ability to make reads and calls in game were astounding. I was floored. And really, through one of those times I was playing, I'm like, why can't this be a sport at my university, at my athletics department? So I drew up a proposal of how I thought such a program could work, and I brought it to our administration. The first thing I identified was that for anything to be a collegiate sport, there has to be other colleges and universities to play against. And in a way, that existed. The Collegiate Star League is a club organizing group where club university programs can enter in their teams, and the Collegiate Star League will organize all the teams that are getting entered and set a schedule and then run the season. So it'd be 5 students from a university on the West Coast playing from their dorm rooms against 5 kids from the University, say, of Arizona, Middle America, playing from their dorm room, and they'd play against each other. We would enter that league and do it differently, because we would operate it as a full varsity sport. We would hire coaching staff. We would recruit players. We would offer scholarships so our coaches can go attract elite talent. And the scholarships that we offer, the amounts, are similar to what we offer for traditional athletics. Right now, our scholarship is 75% of tuition, which is $20,000 of athletic aid per student athlete. And we also needed, though, a place on campus for our players to be able to, and coaches, to be able to practice and play. That was relevant. So we built the first of its kind, a specific arena on campus for practice and games. It's a relevant space where students walk in through that door. Feels like a little mini LCS, that, a professional setting where it's not just a computer lab. It's elite equipment, elite peripheries, top of the line, everything. So we're validating what they're good at by providing the best and what their expectations are. And we use this for esports alone. We don't use it as a computer lab. We don't have classes out of there. That's for athletics and for esports athletics solely. We also, the same ways we provide equipment and gear for traditional sports, we do the same for esports. So we provide uniforms, we provide training gear, we provide hoodies, we provide game day T-shirts, practice T-shirts, and backpacks, everything. And one of the questions sometimes I get when I'm explaining what our program is, sometimes from parents are like, well, they're just going to come and play games all day. They're not going to go to class. They're going to do poor academically. And that's why I think collegiate varsity athletics are a perfect mix, because similar to traditional athletics, students have to have a certain GPA, certain grade point average, maintain grades. They have to go to class. They have to perform semester to semester, which we measure. And if they don't, they're not able to practice and they're not able to play. So you leverage their passion and what they're good at, and they're going to try harder in classes, and they're going to study harder for tests because they want to be part of the game, and they don't want to let their teammates down on Saturday. So that's a major component, obviously, of our program that is really no different than athletics. It's just a different way of thinking about, I think, esports. And further, the same access that all of our athletes have on campus, our esports athletes have. So they have access to the fitness center. In fact, we run some weekly fitness sessions with our teams. They have access to academic athletic tutoring, sports psychologists, athletic trainers. The bottom line is we would go in and do it differently. We would go in all in as a varsity athletic sport, which I fully believe is where it belongs. And our administration agreed. But not everyone else did. And there was a famous quote around in 2014 at that time, and it's still an infamous quote, and unfortunately, I'm sure it'll get thrown around at ESPN CEO's face forever. It was John Skipper, and to be honest with you, ESPN's come a long way since then. They have a full vertical reporting on all different kinds of esports, and they take it seriously now. In fact, the company I work for now as well, Intersport, we're working with ESPN to put on a game called Injustice 2, a finals in September. So, I really don't want to lay into ESPN, but I do want to point out that this word right here, real, which again goes back to my point of the kind of perception of esports. And I get it, right? So the question is, and some of those emails were, is it a sport? And to me, it absolutely 100% is a sport. But I think if you try to make those category comparisons, and it's a slippery slope, because you start splitting hairs. What's more or less of a sport? Is American football or is basketball, right? Is soccer more of a sport? Is tennis? Or is golf? Formula One or NASCAR, I think everyone automatically considers that a sport. It is. And to me, it doesn't matter, right? Because I know what the value we're bringing to the students, but I can just tell you that over 15 years as a university coach and athletic administrator, that the same things that it takes, the same qualities and traits it takes to be successful at traditional athletics are the same traits it takes to be successful at esports. It's things like character, discipline, respect, technical ability, mental strength, commitment, your ability to work in a team environment. And if you even take a step further back, you question, like, why are athletics in universities in the United States to begin with? When you mention collegiate athletics in the United States, I think everybody automatically defaults to the big house, right? 110,000 people watching a football game. But I believe the reason that athletics were and are in universities and colleges to begin with is because of what athletics provides to the students. And inside athletics, and coaches, administrators, the insiders refer to sports teams and athletics as a second classroom, because in that competitive team environment is where students build character through a team dynamic. You learn how to win and lose as a team. You learn how to take direction and how to absorb constructive criticism from a coach and other teammates. You learn how to develop leadership roles. You become a better human through the lessons of athletics and competition. Why would we reserve all those unbelievable values and lessons to only sports that involve balls or faster or size? Why wouldn't we offer those precious and valuable lessons to these unique, growing set of students, talented students, that could come into an organized situation and benefit from all those things, right? Where you validate what they're good at, and you respect what they're good at, and you help develop them and their skill in-game and their character at the same time. All of those lessons can be delivered via video games. And personally, I see the difference that our program makes in our students. You know, they walk around our university with pride wearing their athletic gear, their esports athletic gear, because they're part of something bigger than just themselves grinding out games in their basement or in their bedroom and the game. They're part of now a team. They're part of an esports program, and they're part of an athletic department, and they're part of a university and a community, and it really matters. So in 2014 to now, I must have spoken to literally over 100 different university administrators, club, college, esport organizers, you name it, I've spoken to everybody. You know, trying to see what our program is doing, how it works, why it makes sense, and it's been great. And so let's take a look at where we are now. University varsity sports, esports. So in 2014, that's us right there, one. And now in 2017, we're projecting that there will be 60 in the United States varsity esports programs, not every one of them giving scholarships, but predominantly most of them providing some kind of incentive for athletic participation within the universities. In 2017, we're projecting that schools in the U.S. will award over $4 million of esports scholarship to students. And do you remember the University of Michigan, that the big house? They're in here somewhere, but they're one of the schools as well. That, and in fact, their athletic conference, which is called the Big Ten, it's one of the premier athletic conferences for football, American football and basketball in the United States. The whole conference, along with kind of Riot's help, entered into the Collegiate League of Legends competition, organized competition this year with scholarships. And it's amazing. So let's take a look.
Illinois coming flying out of the gate.
The University of Maryland starting up on the blue side.
Gonna get away? No.
More kills than minutes in this game. Illinois are running away with it. It's going to be Maryland taking it 2-0.
You want to watch a bloodbath? You watch this.
That's amazing. That promo video wasn't from Riot. That was the Big Ten Conference, sort of making the parallels to League of Legends, athletics, to American football, to basketball. The parallels were great. We saw that Ash Ultimate, that long arrow, the long pass from the quarterback to the receiver. It just makes so much sense. And it's amazing to me how far we've come from 2014 to a Big Ten Conference producing that on their own. Unbelievable. So why is there such growth? Well, in my opinion, it's because it really benefits all the stakeholders involved. The publishers, why do they care? Well, because it has more people playing their game and incentivizing their game and organizing their game. It also formalizes their game within an institution, right, in a brick and mortar, historic collegiate university setting, and it identifies it as a sport, which I think is their interest. Universities, generally, esports athletes are pretty attractive. This 38%, this is from TESPA, which is like a Blizzard-focused collegiate organizing group. They identified that 38% of the students that were involved in collegiate clubs and athletics identifies STEM. STEM is like it's a hot-button educational term, which all universities want STEM students. Stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. So those students with that kind of focus, 38% of them were in esports clubs. And also for the university, it engages the student body. It's good for retention. Students that are involved in outside of the classroom, clubs or athletics or any kind of programming generally do better academically and graduate at a higher rate. So that's why it makes sense for universities. And for student athletes, they're able to apply their talent in an organized, competitive team environment. The second classroom we talked about also gives them a path to compete, to learn, have a hand in developing a new industry and chase down their passions academically, whether it's professional or you're involved in some gaming, in the gaming industry, in the esports industry. By the way, I could tell you also as an athletic administrator that companies like to hire collegiate athletes. Why? Because they know that they're able to work, at least in some capacity, in a team environment, right? Any project I'm sure any of you have worked on through your career, you're in a team. You're working with other people. You're going to have a boss or someone in charge of you that you're going to be able to you're going to have to disseminate information, and sometimes they're not nice. So same as collegiate athletics, right? They know athletes are able to handle a large load because they graduated still with having to practice, travel to games, all the requirements that athletics holds. So employers like to hire collegiate athletes. Now, some universities, recognizing the growth of the industry, are actually adding curriculum to support the industry. Here, the University of Utah, which is they call it a Power 5 conference, so one of the elite 5 conferences of collegiate athletics in the United States, they just announced that they're going to have a varsity esports program, and they're also offering a bachelor's degree in the science of games and gaming. And we're seeing that across, I think, a number of different countries as well, as sort of schools and colleges are addressing the programming needs to what students are interested in, which just makes sense. Sometimes it takes a little while for those old institutions to kind of catch up to what needs to be done. Also, we're seeing other countries around the world form collegiate esports organizations, form leagues and competitions. Right here in Spain, through the tireless work of a group of people, the OG series, it was created to organize 32 universities across Spain and 4 different athletic conferences. You say athletic conferences, we don't really have sports in Spain, but organizing, identifying, creating conferences per your region is kind of copying that model. Let's take a look at their promo.
mucho más, pero que claro, el 100% de participación hasta los últimos 10 minutos.
¿Qué espera? Si digo, o sea, es una partida muy buena.
Ya terminada la partida.
And it's my sincere pleasure to introduce you right here. If you guys stand up, we have Jose and Gigi from, stand up, Jose, come on, from the OG series. These guys, as a community effort and out of the passion of esports, have done so much for Spain and for university esports. So it really, I'm going to ask both of them to come up at the end so we can all kind of field questions when we're through. But I wanted to make sure everybody was able to acknowledge and meet them. And what struck me as most interesting in their promo video, and I just met them really about 2 weeks ago, was how they arranged, per school, different identities and logos and team nicknames and mascots to give that identity to that school, right? Because we know athletics isn't the same in Europe and doesn't have that same sort of tribal identity, but creating it for esports. And you saw even in that promo video, right? One of the guys after they won was kind of pulling at their logo and pulling at their shirt. That's exactly what that is. They're playing for their school pride, one school against the other. And they're bonding with each other for the benefit of their school. It's amazing. And across Europe, we're seeing organizations form as well. So in the United Kingdom, in France, in Italy, Portugal, we talked about OG series in Spain and Germany. And these organizations all organized to create the University Esports Masters. So winners from all those leagues ramp up into Portugal in a final coming up, the University Esports Masters, and North American teams are going to go there. South Korea, China will all then ramp up again for a massive finals in, I believe it is Wuhan, China, at the end of, I believe, in August. Amazing. So while University Esports has made great strides, there's still obviously a long, long way to go. But the improvements from 2014 to now are staggering. But outside of formalization and schools recognizing that, what they need to do to sort of provide value to students, I feel like one of the ways that we're still lacking behind a little bit is through sort of inclusion, gender. We know that 48% of females identify as gamers, yet we only see 15% of females that identify as esports participants, or people, or that group that watch esports consistently. And I think collegiate esports can play a role there. I have a feeling it might have more to do with some possible toxic online environments, but I think university esports can create a safe haven where it's organized and it's formalized, where females can come in, be competitive, and defeat males without any kind of backlash because there's supervision and there's organization. I think high school esports still have a long way to go, and this is actually from the wall in our arena. We have the Any Key is an organization that we partnered with that sort of promotes gender, promotes equality across esports and online communities. I think high school, as I mentioned, is a place that needs to grow and develop, but I think that we'll see college form first, and then it'll trickle down those organization formats into high school, and high school clubs will start organizing and start organizing. We're seeing pockets here and there when I talk to high school administrators. But I think that will be a place where esports competitively will grow as well. So that's kind of the backstory of how and why I started the program, and what the benefits I believe are within there. But I always get the question, okay, you've put so much into funding and into your program, how have you done competitively? And that's fair, it's in athletics, and then we should be measured that way. And I'm glad to be pushed like that. So looking at how we've done over the years, the collegiate competitions in North America, in our first year ever, we got second place in North America, which I felt like was a great accomplishment, starting from zero. In 2016, we got second place again in North America. I lost to the same exact team, to be honest with you, but still was a great year. Had a really successful season. And in 2017, let's take a look how we did.
Long history between these two teams. This is the final time that they're going to meet this year. If there's any time to prove which of you is the better school, this is your last chance.
Misses out on the zap. Once again stopped up by the trap. The flash in immediately from Prototype. The exhaust go down. The Evan flow does not help out. West is going to get blown up, and they're going to pick up a follow kill on Mordio. All of a sudden, Robert Morris are trying to run, but they're running back towards their opponent's base. They've got the Shenmue going down. The Mordio, the explosive cast is already out. Taunted up on the CKG in the back line, but he's going to stay alive for a little bit longer before being taken down by Caitlyn. Keep on going here. Bear Trap on the rope will pull Blackbear back in his pool form, and Sasuke picks up a kill. Another one goes down to Nami, but the exhaust and the flash were burned. Bucksack nets in aggressively going after Gragas. Gillette goes golden, and West goes low on both sides of the fight, and they will both go down. That is going to be 3 kills. Now make it 4. Is it going to be an ace? There it is. 5 kills for Maryville. 0 deaths on their side. Jana later, but the spraying rays on the backside from Bucksack. Good shockwave results in a double kill picked up for the Twitch. And Maryville, they thought they could get the Rift Herald, but instead they get killed.
These are some of the dangers we talk about.
Oh, Sasuke comes off the backside, able to slice and dice and chop himself down a tree. Prototype flashes back out, and Mordio's gonna get his Guardian Angel pop. West got his popped as well, and he will die. Evan RL gets pulled back in, and he goes down. Mordio tries to hop, skip, and jump his way out of this one, will barely survive. Prototype picks up a kill, and he's getting excited. He goes for a double kill, and Flatterer picks one up for himself. The Caitlyn falls down. It's a triple kill for Jinx. She's gonna be going for a quadra kill picked up, and Maryville saved the base. The Mercurial Scimitar, he picks up a kill on the Talia. Now he's getting excited. He's wailing on the front line. Double kill picked up for the Jinx. CKG's in the back line at the same time. Prototype is focusing on the front line. He's going to get a kill onto West. He gets excited for the triple kill. Maryville's going to the final.
Bet you thought we were going to win, right? We didn't win. We lost, ironically, to another varsity scholarship program that started after us. And, I've been in athletics a long time. I've coached teams for a long time, and losing, to be honest, sucks. It's never easy. It's difficult. I guess I take some solace that it was another varsity program that defeated us, but still, if you're able to see the environment where we're playing in the LCS Studios in Los Angeles in the finals. So the value our players got of being a whole week in California playing out of the LCS Studios was amazing. Their jaws dropped when they walked on those stage because that's where their heroes play. So while it's still difficult pill to swallow and our guys are still really upset, the experience is, you know, amazing. They'll think about that for the rest of their lives. And, you know, losing is difficult 3 years in a row. And sometimes I get asked by the media, well, you know, what about you put so much in? Do you feel like you've had a shortcoming by not being able to win the championship? And then I think about just last week. Because one of our team leaders, and if you remember this guy, right, we saw him in an early slide. His name is Derek Michaud. His summer name is West Coast Carry. He's really been, he's a 4.0 student at our school. Really been like a team leader for our program, involved in all of those competitions. Last week, West Coast Carry became the world's first ever varsity esports scholarship graduate. And it reminds me, or I'm reminded of a quote from probably one of the most successful varsity collegiate athletic coaches of all time in the United States. His name is Mr. John Wooden from the UCLA. He won a national championship 15 times. And John Wooden's response to one of the questions a reporter asked him after winning their 7th consecutive national championship, the reporter asked him to measure his program's success. You know, what's the measure of your success of your program? And keep in mind, this was after winning the 7th consecutive championship. And Coach Wooden, in his wisdom, said, I will tell you in 10 years when I see how successful these boys are. In the big picture, the most treasured victories will have little to do with the scoreboard. It is watching the young people you had the honor of coaching become people of significance. And while at the end of any athletic season, there can only be one champion at the end of the tournament, right? But the real value is shared across all the teams. University varsity esports, video games, providing people of significance through athletics. Thank you. Let me ask Jose and GJ to come on up, and we'll take some questions either on the North American esports varsity side of things. I'd love to get some questions on how they see Europe side and even Spain, if you have directed questions. Yes. Oh, sure. Okay, yeah, we'll go right up top over there, guys, right outside of those doors. If anyone has any questions, love to answer you. We'd be happy to chat with everybody. Thank you very much. Thanks.